Hi you guys. So in this video I'm going to explain how the linkages on the bottom side at the back of the carb on the 36 DCD7 works and the function of each one, and I'm also going to show you how to put them together. I've had quite a few guys contact me to say, you know, when they throttle this falls out and that gets stuck in it, and I think all it is just been put together wrongly because it's not quite understood how to put them together and what they do. So I'm going to explain how that works. So here's a DCD that I need to put all of that together. So at the back side of the carb, if you want to call it that, you've got the two shafts sticking out. One is the primary and the other one is the secondary. And inside there's a gear set that make them go one after the other. I'll show you that in a sec. But the important thing is to know is that there's these two brass spacers that go in there. These parts, by the way, lie in exactly the right position on how to install them. So those two go on first. Then there's these two little cams that go on first, and I'll explain their function. Then there's this link, the two nuts and the two washers. So I'm just gonna explain each one's function as I put it together. So as you know, this is a progressive carb. So the first choke opens first, and then from that position the second choke opens. Therefore it's called a progressive carb. So when you start to throttle there, you need fuel to squirt down the barrel. Otherwise you're going to have a flat spot. So I'll explain how that works quickly. So this is a different carby, but as I accelerate, you can see there it squirts the fuel. I'm going to get that. See that as I accelerate, it squirts fuel. And you can see as I accelerate that drops. And the reason that drops is because the cam on the other side allow it to drop. So down the bottom there's a piston and a spring that makes all of that function. I'll show you just now how that works. So what we've got to do on the back side of the carby is we've got to arrange all of those links so that as I start to throttle, that arm there, or that piston rod, starts dropping to enable us to squirt fuel. Okay, so here's that pin that sticks out the bottom of the carb. So I'm just pushing it by hand now, but it's spring loaded, so it's got a spring that keeps it in that position all the time. And our little cam that sits here is supposed to press that away, press that down, not all the way, but it's supposed to press it down. So then as we start to accelerate from that position, the spring will then allow it to squirt, and that's where you get the squirt action from on the accelerator pump. So all of these linkages that we put on here is supposed to make the accelerator pump function. So let's start putting it together. So the first thing we've got to do, we've got to put those brass spacers on, just like that. So what they do is they keep dirt away from the shaft. Otherwise you're going to get dirt inside there, and that's going to start eating away on the shaft and the carburetor casing. And they also help prevent the shaft from moving in and out. So as you start to throttle, it doesn't move in and out. Otherwise your butterflies will get warm. So that's what they do. Nothing more, nothing less. They're not actually a petrol seal, although a lot of people do think they are, but they're not. So the next thing we've got to do is we've got to put these two little cams on. So that one goes there, and the reason it goes there is as it lifts up, it will allow this to come up through the other linkage that I'll put on now. Next we've got to do is put this linkage on. You'll see this linkage has been cut there. Some guys fiddle around with them to make them squirt in at a different throttle position on the second choke, which is fine. It's performance related. I'd sometimes do it as well. Now what we've got to do, we've now got to put this linkage in. So this linkage, the bottom part of the linkage presses on that accelerator pin over there. I'll show you that in a sec. So this has got to fit in the bottom there and on like that. See? But now we've got to put this nut on to make all of this work together. So let me just get that nut on quickly. I'm not going to tighten it up just yet. I just want to get it like that to put it into position. And once you're there, this thing will function. I'll show you that in a sec. So just to run through this again, that little cam that looks like a hook, that goes on the first choke. And the reason it's got that little hook on it, so if you throttle all the way, and it's difficult to do it with one hand, I'll show you when the carb is the other way around, that little hook prevents that link from falling out, so that it hangs in the other way. See there? That little hook there prevents that link from falling out. So if you accelerate and your link falls out, then you've put it in incorrectly. That hook on that link is also calibrated. Some clever guy in the factory worked out that it's got to be a certain length and to give you the right spray action. So that's in essence how it works. And you can see I've got no nut on here. There's nothing on here, so it can actually function like that, but obviously you're not supposed to let it function like that. You need to put the nuts and the washers and circlips and not circlips, the split pins and everything in. But I just want to show you that that's how that is supposed to function. So this is that other carby again, but I just want to, this one has been put together and it works. But I just want to show you how those links actually function. So if you start accelerating, you can see there what I explained, that it allows that pin to drop because that pin is spring loaded. So every time when you do that, the piston squirts fuel down barrel number 1. And as you throttle further, the second one opens. And you can see the action there. See, there is movement there where the second choke hasn't opened yet. And that's what I said just now. There's some guys that grind those and file them down to get that to a smooth action. I sometimes do it as well. So that as you accelerate, you don't have that dead spot till you open the second choke. It actually works quite nice. So this whole mechanism here looks like that. It's got a piston on the end and it's spring loaded like I showed you. And it goes in there. And that little brass clip keeps it in place. Float bowl will be full of fuel. That there is a non-return. That there is a non-return, and then when that pumps, when this pumps, it sprays fuel there, and that's the whole function of all those links down the bottom, is just to make that do that. That's all. And that's how you do the links on the 36 DCD7. I really hope it helps someone. Be safe out there. Cheers.